I'm making a fast video. I have house guests. You may hear them in the background, but I just kind of wanted to talk off the top of my head because I just finished watching 3 videos, and they sort of, especially Paul's ego, focused on something that I have been thinking a lot about, and that is, it's a very visual culture here on YouTube, and we can be introduced to the idea that if we see something on a screen and we're told something is true, then it must be true. And it's very tempting because it's very easy. I mean, I do go on and on and on in a really humorless way about why I think you actually have to look at where things come from. You have to look at the background. You have to look at sources. And the thing is, if it can be made so that it's easier, that's good. If it can't, then, and you really don't know something, it's better to be honest with yourself and say, I really don't know this, and so I'm not going to say anything about it till I know. I mean, it's happened to me a few times on YouTube where I've thought something was true and it turns out that, oops, it wasn't true. When I find that there might be something like that, what I try to do, and this is neither right nor wrong, is because I am a curious person, I actually try to look up the sources and look them up. I know it's boring, but I've talked about primary sources before, and if you're really trying to understand something, as much as you can, it's good to go back to the source. You can't always do that. Most of us are not experts in areas that we're curious about. So the thing you can do is make sure that if you read something that is just research that someone has done, or if you watch something on YouTube or TED Talks, if you watch something, see what the source is. See where they're getting their information. Don't just believe something that someone asserts because they assert it, look into the camera, and seem to be telling you the truth. Because that kind of assertion may or may not be based on anything. And if it's not based on something, it's better to think for yourself than be told what to think from someone who is probably less of an expert than you are about that particular subject, or certainly no more of an expert than you are. If they don't let you go and check on why they formed the opinion that they did, where they got the opinion, and it might be from something they read, it might be a TED Talk they saw, but as I said, we're not experts here, most of us, and assertions of fact can be made by anybody, assertions of fact, but for a fact to be really valid, it takes actually substantiation. You have to have sources, you have to know where the idea came from. Opinion is not a fact, it's just not, and a lot of times I see here that opinion masquerades as fact, and it's not really based on anything that you as an individual can check out to see where the idea came from. So, I'm just saying, think for yourself. Don't let someone else tell you what to think. And if she or he doesn't offer you sources and reasons for him or her thinking what they do, don't be so gullible. Don't just buy into anything. And I'm just going to add this one last thing, and that is this. If someone has to be hostile, insulting, and raise his voice in order to assert that something is true, you should be even more dubious about whether or not what he is or she is saying is absolutely true. Because the real truth is, if you're saying something and you're basing it on your opinion, you're much more likely to raise your voice, to be abusive, to be insulting. If you're basing it on something, if you're basing it on true and valid sources, you're really less likely to do that. So just think about it. And again, don't be so gullible. It's really important not to be.